The sports card hobby has a problem. More and more players are getting sloppy and lazy with their autographs, and now there's high-profile examples of big-time chase cards with autographs on them that are so poor that it might affect the value and the collectability. What does this mean and what do we do about it? We'll debate now. Hello, sports card investors, and welcome to another episode of Cards on the Table. Teapot, great to see you as always.
Thanks,
Carter,
sir.
Welcome back to the show. Good to see both of you guys. And I want to start off today with a story. Actually, it was an Instagram post that caught my eye. It was from B Sports on Instagram, and he posted an Anthony Richardson National Treasures rookie patch auto. This should be one of the biggest football card chases of the year. It's National Treasures. It's one of the top quarterbacks who, of course, was a rookie from last year, but now the products are just now coming out. Some of the other rookies like CJ Stroud aren't signing for Panini. So this is probably the best of the cards, the best of the rookie patch autos that you can get out of that National Treasures product. And yet, Anthony Richardson's signature was so tiny on this card that you might have need a magnifying glass to even spot it. And if you did spot it, it's like such a little simple A and R. What's going on? And I can tell you Anthony Richardson didn't always used to sign this way. In fact, even in earlier product releases like Prism Football, he had more of a full autograph. And if you go back to his college days, I've got some of his stuff from the University of Florida signed. He had a really nice scripted autograph that he spent a lot of time on. Those days apparently are beyond us. But it's not just Anthony Richardson. We saw an example of a UFC card just come out this last week of Raul Rosas. Did I get that right?
Raul Rosas.
There you go. You see, he's better at this than me. And he literally signed with an R in a circle. Once again, this guy used to sign with a pretty nice autograph. Now it's an R in a circle. But we have seen such a ridiculous run of player autographs in recent years, whether it's George Pickens, have you seen his autographs? Cam Reddish, Sadiq Bey, Rudy Gobert, even guys like Trae Young.
Atlanta Hawks players
can get lazy. That's true.
They're all not signing.
Trae Young can get lazy at times. LaMelo Ball can get lazy at times. In baseball, Junior Caminero, he's got some pretty lazy autographs out there. So now that this is really becoming more and more of a trend, I've got to ask you guys, do these lazy autographs actually detract from the collectability and potentially the value of these cards? And if so, what can be done about it? Is it actually possible that the manufacturers could set a standard and say your autograph must be of a certain quality level, or is that just something that's never going to happen? Teapot, what do you think of this issue with athlete autographs?
There's already like this theory of, just getting a pack pulled autograph versus like, why do we collect autos? It used to be like a token of proof that you had an interaction with somebody personally. Now people prefer pack pulled autographs out of cards more than they do like getting an in-person autograph from an athlete, which is interesting. We already deal with being flooded with sticker autos. I saw one sticker auto where the athlete signed it all the way to the left, off the left and the top of the label. And so you talk about centering on a card. Now you've got an ultimate OC centering on the auto, and it was just like this little tiny circle like scribbled onto there and like bled off the corners. This is disgusting, honestly. Like, take some pride of ownership in your auto. People want your autograph for a reason. I don't know ultimately like what the stipulations are, how these companies negotiate with how many autos they're required to sign. We already know there's a problem. We all say no more redemptions, no more redemptions. But ultimately, that's up to the athlete to sign the cards or the labels and get them back to the manufacturers. If they don't do that, we can't get the cards back. So there's like this conundrum. Now, if you go to the athletes and you say, by the way, you need to take a penmanship class or a calligraphy class, maybe they need to go to Senate and the Secretary of Education and say, go back to teaching cursive again in the elementary school so that people know how to do this, because I see some people literally just print their first name like Trent on a thing or so. It's ridiculous. I would love to see it. You think about the all-time greats. If you pretty much go back to the 90s and earlier, every single athlete had a nice autograph.
They did.
I think
That
of
is
like
true.
Mariano Rivera. I have
Yeah.
a signed Andre Dawson baseball at home that I won at a card show. Like, they all look really nice. I will say, even today, some athletes, when you do see it, actually does look really nice. Anthony Richardson, I don't know if he goes by Ant as well, but he signs his like a little tiny ant on the card. Anthony Edwards, who is Ant-Man, actually has a nice looking autograph on most of his cards. Like, take some pride of ownership in it. The other one thing that I'll say that concerns me is the lack of consistency in the way that autos look for athletes across different products. I wish I could remember who it was and had the images here. A few months ago, I threw up on Instagram story an athlete where I took like 10 different cards and every single autograph looked different. How are they authenticating that? How do they know for sure that he signed those cards? It's problematic. It does make me not want autographs when they look terrible. I'd just rather have a nice looking card.
Yeah, and is this, I don't know, is this the athlete's fault, Carter, or is this actually the fault of the hobby and the card manufacturers for asking these athletes to sign now tens of thousands of autographs, and it gets to the point where the athletes aren't willing, apparently in some cases, to put in the time to sign it nice because they're rushing through boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes of signing their autograph. Whose fault is this?
To me, this comes down to the perspective from the player about what they think about the fans, what they think about the collectors. Like, I think of Trevor Lawrence. He takes some time in his autograph, right? Every single...
He takes some more time in the film room.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
Now he's not going to take any more time on his autographs if he
may
sees
not.
that clip.
But he signed a lot. He's one of those pieces. He's a newer player in the league, right? You know, this has been since the boom. Players are signing a lot more. He takes his time. He cares about the fans. He cares about what people think of his autograph. He wants people to be excited about people pulling his autograph, or even just getting an autographed football, autographed helmet, right? Whatever that means outside of cards. So I think this comes down to how much the player and the athlete really cares. A quantity comes into play a little bit, but I think we're in a different era. I think we used to have athletes really care about what fans thought of them. In today's world, I think some athletes don't give a crap. So I think that's what it really boils down to for a lot of players.
At least in a high-end product, there's got to be a standard.
Yeah.
These hand-packed products, you know, that are on-card autographs, at least make it nice in that. If you're going to do stickers in Prism, sticker autos, maybe they're going to scribble. Get something that looks nice in the. But then I don't know. Maybe you're going to say like.
I would rather consistency. I don't want the situation where there's one product's a different auto than the other. Like, that makes me feel weird. Like, just kind of like you guys mentioning, like 3 different autographs. How do you authenticate them? Like, I think people want consistency. At least they know it's AR's auto. You know, for me, AR, it seems like he's going through a little extra effort to make it as small as he is, right? You know, I don't think it's as bad as Cam Reddish, or even George Pickens.
I've seen some where it's like they literally just did this and then did a bunch of swirls. It like looks like nothing, and that takes a lot of time and a lot of like pen energy to do that. I don't know. By the way,
I think as Anthony Richardson's play on the field and his card prices have shrunk, so has his autograph. Maybe it's now symbolic of his standing in the sports card world. I don't know. Back when he was with the Gators, it was a big old, beautiful. Actually, not really.
By the way, if T-Law's watching,
he had a losing record.
I'm
with
giving
the
him
Gators.
crap, but I'm secretly hoping.
I think
T-Law
the
turns it
true
around.
solution is the direction that the industry is going is to try to include the players more in the industry around autographs, around memorabilia, around cards. Motivate them in that sense, being like, hey, this can benefit your brand beyond you just signing this autograph. This can create more fans for you. There are people that rip high-end boxes and pull huge cards of someone like Anthony Richardson. They weren't a fan before, but now they are because maybe they'll decide to hold that card because then they're a believer. Like, there's greater benefits for these athletes, if they can sign these cards better. And I think the companies can do a better job of motivating them potentially. It's hard to set requirements, though, and standards. But I think they need to do a better job. And I think they already have, but we just got to go further in that direction to motivate them.
Well, the fans are ultimately what make it so these players can have these huge salaries and get all these sponsorships and have that. We're literally the reason. The consumer of the product is the reason. And I know they started doing like financial acumen and education classes for these athletes who come in, especially the ones who get a couple league minimum salaries and then they're out. Take that $1 million and make it change your life for the rest of, instead of like spending it all and wasting it. They could do some similar things, like just the overall fan experience package, how you interact with people, bring in some legends, have some younger athlete ambassadors like the Bobby Witts of the league who really like baseball cards, and try to change the culture around it.
I do think Michael Rubin specifically is attempting to do some of what you just said. We saw from Fanatics Fest in New York City, he's trying to bring in the big name athletes and get them kind of exposed to the collector community and create more of that interaction with the athletes and them actually seeing how the cards that they're signing, how that's resonating with people that are there at the show and all the dealer tables. I mean, he was walking a lot of the athletes around to look at the card show floor and go look at their cards at different dealer tables. Maybe that gives them a little bit more of an appreciation. I think that he and Topps and Fanatics have also been working hands-on with certain key people, like, for example, Victor Wembanyama, to really take care of the quality of his autographs and the cards of what he's autographing. Now, he's also not, Wembanyama specifically is also not autographing nearly as much as what a lot of these other people do. It's like Tom Brady. Tom Brady's not signing nearly as much. You know, Mahomes is not signing nearly as much as what a lot of these other guys do. And so that probably helps the quality of their autographs as well, because they're just not doing as many. So when they do it, they're getting paid more for it, and they're willing to put a little bit more time into it. Let me ask you this final question on this topic. Do you think there are too many autograph cards in general, and would the manufacturers be smart to pull back on the number of autograph cards so the autographs maybe get more coveted and maybe better quality? Or would doing that actually hurt the products and the chases because there's not as many of them? What do you think?
I absolutely think they should pull back on the autos, and I don't think it would hurt their products. Like, even when I know the chase, if you open like Topps Chrome Baseball or many products, you get one guaranteed auto, two autos, whatever it is. When you get those autos, and they're not very good, and they're a $5 auto, and you compare that to getting even like a home field advantage or a nice insert or something else, if you can shift the culture a little bit, even away from the madness of all the parallels, and into more thoughtful insert designs and some other offerings, I think that's better. I mean, I know some people, I'm probably going to get beat up in the comments because some products have moved. Like, I think Heritage, it's like sometimes you get a game-used relic, sometimes you get an auto. But that's actually one of the things I like about Heritage. If you get a real one auto, it's on card, it's nice, it's hand-numbered. If it's a red ink, like, there's some chases to it. Diluting the pool and letting everybody get a $5 auto, sticker auto, doesn't move the needle for me. It's not actually a hit or a chase. Just put some more thought into the designs, I would say.
Yeah.
At least on lower end products.
Yeah, that's a challenging question for me. And personally, I like autographs, and I think I don't want it to go the reverse side, where you're getting more short printed inserts like there are today, and they're less rare. I think we've seen that with downtowns. They're getting less rare and rarer over time, and as they produce products more, as there's more demand. I think we're going to continue to see demand grow in the industry. You know, I would love to see that in the form maybe of newer products, maybe not expanding print runs on current products. So maybe that's a solution there, but decreasing autographs, I think currently, I just don't want to see the reverse side of that with the short printed cards that people are chasing, having more of those.
There's a lot of historical players that, like, if they need to increase print runs, I know there's a lot of ways you could do this. There's a lot of levers the companies can pull. But one thing, like if I look at Topps Composite.
Yes, that's a good example.
They put all these veterans in there that we haven't seen in products in years. Fred Taylor and other people.
Yeah,
Maurice
Barry
Jones,
Sanders
Drew,
was
Barry
signing in there.
But and like Barry's been in a lot of products, but like you can get their autos for sure, but you can also just add them to the base checklist so that you're not getting, you know, Schmucks McGee, who nobody's ever heard of, who was a 7th round lineman. You actually get somebody you care about. Just don't use them every single year in the product. Rotate it out. We've got literally thousands of players, like hundreds of Hall of Fame caliber players who you can bring into the product to help round it out.
I agree. These are all good ideas. With all of that said, I will tell you one of my most prized possessions that I have is a single sheet of, you know, kind of a cardstock that has a Babe Ruth auto and a Lou Gehrig auto, both on the same sheet of cardstock, PSA authenticated. Beautiful quality autographs. And when you look at how Babe Ruth, who, by the way, Babe Ruth signed a lot of autos. Babe Ruth autographs are actually not rare. There's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of, especially baseballs. He signed a zillion baseballs. And if you look at the quality of the penmanship, he never got sloppy with it. His stuff was great. He would sign 1,000 baseballs in a day, and his stuff would still be great the whole time through.
All right, say it with me. Raul Rosas, Chiwiwi.
I'm going to leave that up to you. All right, guys, what do you think in the comments? Let us know what your thoughts are in terms of whether autographs should be reduced in products or not. Kind of a controversial topic there. Would love to hear what you think. What I am excited about, guys, is this big news from Arena Club. Check this out. They're dropped tomorrow. Their Grail dropped tomorrow. They have the biggest estimated values ever on the Grails that are going to go in their Grail packs tomorrow, the Ruby packs on Arena Club. over $60,000 when you count the 3 Grails and the bonus chases that they have in these slab packs tomorrow. On the baseball side, they've got a Jackson Merrill 2022 Bowman Chrome Auto Red Refractor, number to 5 PSA 10. That is a big card, especially at this moment in time. That's a big one. On the football, and then by the way, on baseball, they're doing a bonus of 2 tickets to the World Series. Game 1 or 3, your choice, good seats to the World Series. You can pull one of those out of the slab packs at Arena Club. On football, they're doing a ton of sealed wax. They've got like a sealed wax grail, which includes 2017 contenders. We actually have some of that here in Cards HQ. 2018 Prism. It includes National Treasures from last year and a whole bunch of other boxes. 2020 contenders. You can hit that in one of their slab packs. And then in basketball, it's an Anthony Edwards rookie Spectra Color Blast PSA 10. Very, very nice slab packs. They all drop tomorrow, Friday, at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. You got to go download the Arena Club app, and then you enter in promo code SCI, and you get 10% off your first purchase at Arena Club. So give it a shot. Take a shot at getting those grails. Again, the Arena Club app, download it, then promo code SCI for 10% off. All right, guys, let's jump into our next topic. Unfortunately, on this show, in recent weeks, we've had to cover theft a lot. Theft has occurred, and last week it was a employee of Upper Deck allegedly, stealing a whole bunch of $500,000 worth of redemption cards from Upper Deck. All this kind of stuff. It seems like these types of topics have been resonating now for weeks. We've seen a lot of these types of things. Well, we have it again. This time, it's allegedly the FedEx man. And in fact, this was a pretty high-profile card deal that went down on Instagram. And the person who bought the cards, Luka Doncic PC, bought them from another Instagram user, both of which are kind of known as reputable in the hobby. It's around like a $200,000 worth of cards that the seller shipped FedEx overnight to Luka Doncic PC, including things like a 2018 Bowman Chrome, Shohei Otani Gold, Auto to 50, BGS 9.5. Also, the blue was in there as well in BGS 9.5. There's a Mookie Betts Gold, first Bowman Auto, that was in there as well. An orange Juan Soto, an orange Tatis. I mean, massive, massive baseball cards. And the seller shipped them. And then when the buyer got them the next day, FedEx overnight, the package clearly looked like it had been tampered with. It had been resealed around the top, and he opens them, and none of those cards are inside. Now, of course, we don't know exactly who took them, but somewhere in the chain of custody there between the seller and FedEx and the buyer, the cards disappear. That is a big amount of cards. What's interesting is I've got a little bit of inside knowledge about how some of these auction houses work. I talked to somebody at one of the big auction houses not too long ago, and he said that they actually measure the rate of packages being either tampered with or not making them to their destination across all the different shippers. And FedEx priority overnight, according to their data, was the safest. It had the lowest rate of incidents, probably because you ship it and then it's going to be wherever it's going to be at 9 or 10 a.m. the next morning. So the chance of it getting messed with is just so condensed, and it goes through less people's hands.
Chain of command is 3.
Yeah.
I think there's 3 touch points.
Right. So I've always heard that FedEx priority overnight's the way to go for high-end cards. Well, this went FedEx overnight. Maybe not priority, but it went FedEx overnight. So, I mean, they did it the way that I've heard that you should do it. I know there was some problems a number of months ago where there was a bunch of FedEx ground packages that were getting altered and, are getting opened up and messed around with. PSA actually spoke about that and put something out about how they've had some issues with FedEx ground, and they're working with authorities to kind of figure that out. But FedEx priority overnight, that was supposed to be the safe one, but this was FedExed overnight. That's a lot of cards. T-Paul, what do you make of this situation?
Do you know if it was insured?
They haven't, I don't. I haven't seen any update on that. I know some people asked in the comments of these posts. I don't know if that ever got answered.
I mean, first of all, I'm sorry to both parties.
Yeah.
This is the stuff of nightmares.
Yep.
So much so, I know dealers, card shops, auction houses, grading companies, all of these places, right? They deal in high volume and high dollar cards, and they send tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars of cards through the mail. I can't imagine that. Like I'm to the point where if I was even going to send a few $1,000s, like $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 worth of cards for consignment, I think I would fly them personally. Like fly them to that, pay the $250 for a round trip ticket, fly them, and then come back home. Like that's what I would do because I would feel so nervous putting that into the mail. You can pay for the insurance. That doesn't always pay off. I know if you use, Collect Insure or some of the other insurance companies, they're better to work with than like the actual shipping companies in terms of reimbursing for this
the insurance from the shipping companies is so expensive.
It's so expensive, and you're almost never gonna. And then I've heard nightmares.
Yeah.
I've heard people say if you don't have it documented of what these cards sold for and all of that stuff buttoned up, that can be really problematic. If it's cards coming back from a grading company, there's a whole bunch of different terrible situations. So I don't know. I think if I were looking at this through like an investigative lens, that's the really hard part. Just like when any crime happens, it's like you might be the victim and simultaneously have to be part of the investigation to see, did you do anything? Like there's so many ways this could go wrong. And I'm not saying that's what's going on here, but even to the point where like if this person's commonly receiving packages from the same FedEx driver and becomes friends with them and suddenly tells them like, hey, do you want to score big? Like just cut this box open in your car. Like, I don't know. I don't know where if you were doing an audit to see like where are the gaps that somebody could actually execute this theft, to me, like the only spot that it seems like would be like in the actual truck on the way to its destination. And I don't know. So I hope FedEx figures out who the driver is able to trace it, and ultimately that these cards are found. Like this, that's the part that's so frustrating.
Sure.
These are big time cards that you don't like to see lost, pulled out of circulation, cracked out of cases, resubmitted, whatever the case may be. So hopefully it's all documented too, and the hobby can come together and help them figure it out. And I'm not saying that person did that. I'm just saying this is a really tough situation.
It'd be nice. What do you make of this, Carter?
It's just awful. I know of people that are scared to send a couple $100
I
worth of cards.
Yeah.
You know, like I had buddies that wouldn't even send a $100 card. They'd be scared. They'd send it to you and be like triple boxed. You know, like so. You just got to follow the best shipping practices you can. You know, obviously going with FedEx. You know, I think that data is really helpful for a lot of customers out there, and I think that's good to put out. Overall, I would have flown these cards. Point blank. I mean, obviously, I'm sure there's maybe circumstances involved. Maybe both people were busy. I don't know. I feel like I would have figured it out to fly. I would have bought a first class ticket if I had to. You know.
Yeah. I mean, in this type of transaction, you would have that opportunity, I guess. But like auction houses.
Yeah, they do it.
They get to the end of the auction, and they might have 100 shipments or 500 shipments that are all, $20K, $50K and above, some of which are hundreds of thousands
I would
of
go
dollars.
get it. Like if it were me, if I bought the big cards, you've bought big stuff all the time.
Yeah, it's like it's too much to go get.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'd feel so nervous if it was, especially if it was like a one of one or some big memento that's coming from across the country. I'd pay somebody else to go do it.
Yeah.
I'd be like, hey kid, I'll give you $100 to fly across the country and go get this. If somebody I know, not just some random kid, but like somebody will do it.
Is that safer than the FedEx?
If it's $200,000, get somebody you know, tell them you'll pay them $250 for the day, and you'll fly them to go get it.
All right.
And that's probably cheaper than the risk. I don't know.
I see that differently though, because like you're working with a company there. Like if you're getting something shipped from an auction house, like they got a team, they got a shipment team.
I'm saying if you're just nervous of losing a one of one, like something that you can't replace.
Yeah.
When it's between two people transacting and then you both got to do a lot of the heavy lifting, it's just a scary situation, right?
It's not good.
Unfortunately, I think we're going to continue to see stories like this pop up in time as the industry grows, as there's more shipments, as there's more packages. I know it's the world of online. We do a lot of packages here at Cards HQ. We deal with normal shipping issues. We deal with packages that do go lost. Who goes?
How do you know the person even put them in the package? That they didn't make the package look tampered with and then just mail you an empty package. Like there's so many.
There's a lot of factors in play.
It's bad stuff. But with those cards, those are cards you don't want lost. I mean, my God, those are some beautiful cards. It's unfortunate that happens for sure. All right, we got two more big stories to cover. We got some big grading news. We've also got to talk about another record sale. We're going to get to that in a second. But I got to give a shout out to our show sponsor, BCW. Carter, I know we use these card bins actually throughout all of our value bins here at Cards HQ are in these card bins, the 1,600 count card bins here. They've also got, these store, by the way, top loaders and magnetics, and then they've got the graded card version of those card bins as well. And then I'm going to pull out one of the 3,200 counts, which are the ones that we use up front. Carter, what makes these so good?
I think my favorite part about them is the dividers. You can separate, you can organize, per sport. If you collect players, stuff like that. We use them really well in a TCG. Separating different cards like that. But I also love how you can display. The 3200 count really shows. You can put a card in there. You can put a sign. You can label. Each row.
Yeah, the end of each row. You can label what the row is. The dividers, as you said, in the middle. And then the top closes.
Yeah, exactly.
And it latches.
Yep. Well, and they all stack very nicely. So if you want to store them in your closet, on a shelf, anything like that, it's really easy to use. They last a long time. They're not going to look all dingy and beat up like white boxes. I love white boxes for the use and the cost, but these are awesome.
Yeah. That's nice. Take that, Teapot.
Transport them to a card show.
They stack up.
Yeah,
they stack up too.
Nice and easy.
This is good stuff, guys. And if you want to save 10% on card bins, go to bcwsupplies.com and use promo code SCI. You're going to get 10% off card bins and everything on bcwsupplies.com with promo code SCI. And by the way, we also sell them here inside Cards HQ. So if you're in the Atlanta area, feel free to stop by. Okay, guys, let's get to our next topic. This one around grading. Do we need to sound some alarm bells here? For so many months in a row, on this very show, we would cover how grading was going up and up and up and up every single month. And it seemed like every month a new record was set. It just up and up and up to the moon. Grading was never stopping. Well, wait a minute. All of a sudden, things have reversed a little bit. So it started to happen in September, last month. September's grading numbers were down 16% overall from August. And that's if you look across PSA and SGC and Beckett, and you look across CGC, and that's sports and TCG combined, down 16% from September to August, okay? All right, well, maybe that was just because there were less business days in September, maybe things. Well, the first week of October, so we got data now on the first week of October. The first week of October is down a little bit from September. So things seem to be trending down a little bit now in the beginning of October as well. Is this downward trend going to continue? In fact, the October numbers, they're down a decent amount. In fact, they're at 14% down week over week. Looking at last week versus the week prior, 19% sports. That's PSA's numbers. 19% sports down week over week. Are these drops to be concerned about? What's your take on this, Teapot?
I'm going to quote the great Tyrone Davis.
Okay.
What goes up must come down.
Yeah.
Yes, it was him and not Isaac Newton.
Okay.
Great song. You got to look it up.
Don't know what you're talking about.
It's a great song.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
What goes up must come down. You know that, come on.
Actually,
you
I do know that song. That's actually a good song.
It's a good song.
Let's put that on the store speakers.
Pull it up. Okay.
That's a good song.
Anyway, I don't think I'm too concerned about this. We've said it month over month, and I don't think PSA is concerned about it. I don't think the grading companies are concerned about it. There's seasonality. Things have slowed down a little bit for us. Things have slowed down in the card market a little bit. This happens every single year. Once we get in, school season starts, families aren't spending, they're not on vacation, they're focused on getting their kids into athletics and doing everything else that comes with the fall. That's just sort of the nature of things right now. And then plus on top of it, it's an election year. We've got that coming up. I don't know if that has an impact, but sometimes there is a spending pullback on that type of thing this time of year. So a lot of factors. We're going to head toward Christmas season. People are going to be spending again. People are going to be sending their cards in for grading again. NBA season's about to tip off. Hockey just started. There's a lot going on. I'm not too concerned about it. I think the number of cards has gone up so much being graded that seeing it come down a little bit is probably to be expected.
You know how you fix this, Carter? You're talking about election season. Either have Trump or Kamala come out and say they will ban card grading. Card grading will go away. It'll be like fracking. It will just be gone if one of them wins the election. And then all of a sudden, I bet you would have PSA would get 18 million orders in the next week. And maybe that's how you fix it. What do you think, Carter?
I'm going to shut down again. Jeez. It's going to be wild. There's two factors. I think one, this is kind of the time of year for most customers that are submitting at the bulk level, and if they're getting charged when the card is graded, they're going to get charged around December right now. So I think people are thinking financially about that as well.
Interesting. I haven't thought about that, but you're right. You're right. The cards would pop around the holidays,
correct.
60 days out or something like that.
Yeah, people budget. People think about their finances. Sometimes it can add up. You send a bunch of cards, it can be a couple $100, $500, $600, $700, right? And that could be a significant chunk of change. And then you got to wait for the cards to come back, and sometimes you'll sell them, sometimes you'll collect them, right? So I think that's a little factor. I also think it's around releases. I think of the sets with high pop cards, your prisms, your optics, right? For the 2023 guys, surprise. Those sets released, a while ago now. A lot of those cards are already being graded. The boxes are more scarce. We're at the point where a lot of people are buying the boxes maybe to hold more sealed than rip them. So there's just less of those types of cards being sent. I'm thinking about the sets that have been released recently. You got Topps 5-star. You had Bowman Sterling released this week as well. So you're looking at more of just the hits that are being graded. You're not looking at base rookies. You're not looking at even some probably the higher numbered colored rookies being graded as well. We've not got too deep into 2024 football. The sets that have come out, Origins, Gold Star, not a lot of cards, not a lot to be graded as well. And some of those guys are not signing, just like in last year. So I think it's a mix of those two things. But I think as we get closer to the end of the year, there's some more exciting sets being released. I think we're going to see this number jump back up.
Yeah. Those are all good points. All right. I'm not worried. You guys aren't worried? I'm not worried. You shouldn't be worried. Everything is fine. How about this story, guys, to close out the show today? Caitlyn Clark. We talked about her on the show a bunch. Her cards are setting records. Well, they just set another record. I was surprised by this one. I got to say, I'm fully supportive of some of the record prices on some of these Caitlyn Clark cards. I might have bid on a couple of them. Didn't win any of them, but might have bid on a couple of those that went for record prices. But the Panini Instant Rookie of the Year card that was sold on Panini's website on a Dutch auction. Dutch auction starts at $100,000 for the one of one of the Panini Instant. It goes one tick down to $97,000, and then someone hits buy. They couldn't have done it at 100 for whatever reason. They weren't going to pay 100, but they were perfectly comfortable paying $97,000. So it just needed to tick down $3,000, and they're like, that's it. That's my price. There I am, $97,000, and they buy it. I was a little surprised by that. I didn't put this card up there. It's a Panini Instant card. It's Rookie of the Year. That's cool. But I didn't put this, I wouldn't have picked this card as one of her 3 or 5 most significant cards. Yet it outsold every other Caitlyn Clark card in history at $97,000. Carter, what do you think of this one?
Well, let's start with this. 2024 is a historic year in the hobby because it will be remembered as the Topps Now and Panini Instant year.
Yes, that's true.
Where it blew
that's
up,
true.
right? We're talking about, the triple auto, stuff like that. Otani 50-50. There's a lot of cool stuff that's happened instantly, right? This is a little crazy to me, but I kind of get it. I think there's still scarcity for her in NBA uniforms. It's not going to be for too much longer. You got sets like Prism and Select coming out. Seeing the initial price points on those, they're not going to be cheap, so this is leading up to some massive hype and some WNBA products that are coming out later pretty soon. But yeah, overall, it's a surprising number, but I think because of the current scarcity, I think people just want Caitlyn Clark cards, and if she has the potential to be the best ever, kind of get it. Rookie of the Year, there's only one rookie year. So
this is a true story. I bought 2 of her cards at the National. They were in our national videos. I thought I got a good price. I went to one dealer. I bought these 2 cards, slightly below comps at the time. And I'm like, it seems like a good value. So then I immediately stickered them and put a price on them that was a little bit above what I paid, so that I had them for the next trade day at the National. Didn't end up trading them away, and they've been sitting in my case. Well, I go to Culture Collision a few weeks ago, and I go to a trade with Jordan Riker. I pull out, he's like, what cards you got? He goes through, he sees one of the Caitlyn Clark cards. He's like, oh, I'd like that. And it's still stickered from the National price.
I should honor your price.
And he was nice enough to go, that one, that's probably a little bit more than what you got a sticker. It had more than doubled.
yeah.
It had more than doubled.
I was standing right behind you when he told you that.
Right. I was like, oh yeah, you know what? I should check. I haven't checked that since the National. I should check that. Oh my God, what that card had done since the National. And so, obviously her stuff's been hot. Teapot, were you the buyer of this $97,000 card?
I was not. You spent my bonus ripping that box of Contenders Optic or whatever it was.
Couldn't find it. Couldn't find it.
No, maybe the reason the person didn't buy it at the immediate price was that they had trouble logging into Panini's site or something and couldn't buy it. But maybe it was the runner-up to the auction for the Draft Night Instant that did $84,000 on Fanatics Collect, or maybe it was that person. Maybe there is a person who believes so much in Caitlyn Clark right now that person is snatching up every single Caitlyn Clark, and I could think of worse investments.
Correct.
I really could.
Correct.
She's changed everything about women's basketball, about women's sports, she's broken all the viewership records, attendance records, sponsorship ad records, revenue. other athletes are benefiting from it. It's pretty wild.
Okay, we're gonna end the show on this. I saw something crazy. I thought it was crazy on TV this morning. I don't even think it's on ESPN. I think it was on like a news channel while I was at the gym. Let's play this game because this really kind of caught me off guard, but it's very related to this topic. What percentage of the American public, if you go, because that's what this survey was, they went and asked 1,000 random Americans, what percentage of the American public do you think has heard of Caitlyn Clark? What percentage?
Say 65%.
65?
I'm going to say 83.
83? Okay, that's very high. You got to consider that, you got a lot of grandmothers taking this survey.
I'm just going
Okay.
high.
What percentage of the American public do you think has heard of Shohei Otani?
Oh, gosh.
45.
Okay.
59.
Okay. The stats were, and I may be a percent or two off, but it was 23% of all Americans have heard of Shohei Otani.
Holy cow.
46% of all Americans have heard of Caitlyn Clark.
Oh, gosh.
Okay.
Those are
Caitlyn
both
Clark
low.
was double
Wow.
Shohei Otani. Now, still less than half on both. And I think you got to consider the demo, like our demo that we live in here is the sports world and everyone's heard of them. But like, there's a lot of like, grandfathers who maybe don't know any of these people. But double. Caitlyn Clark has double the popularity, awareness in the United States of Shohei Otani. Wow. I saw that, I was like, wow. Like, that's wow. Like, here you got Shohei, whose ball's about to sell for who knows how many millions of dollars, first 50-50 ever, best baseball player of this generation, for sure. And Caitlyn Clark is double known. I thought that was surprising. I thought that was, but it showed, I mean, as you said, there could be worse things to spend $97,000 on, perhaps, than a Caitlyn Clark card.
Google Trends, if you look at Google Trends, which I'm looking at right now, it shows like them relative to each other. And Otani's high this year was on October 8th. So it sets it at 100. And Caitlyn Clark relative to that was 8 on Google Trends for search. So that's really interesting.
It's weird.
So he's way more searched. on Google.
Right.
And that's only in the United States.
Does that only include? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, but I thought it was interesting nonetheless. All right, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed today's show. We covered a lot of ground there. We really appreciate you guys watching and getting those slab pack drops tomorrow. Download the Arena Club app, promo code SCI, and then go to bcwsupplies.com, promo code SCI to take advantage of some of these card bins at 10% off. We'll see you next time. Take care.